The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondell.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Stage Door Show tonight. This is Dave Hondell. So excited about tonight's guest. She's not only an accomplished leading actress you've seen in several movies and TV shows, but she's also an accomplished screenwriter. She recently starred in a couple of movies she actually wrote, so we want to get into that, but let's bring her in right now. Ansley Gordon, thanks for being on the show, Ansley.
Hi, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we're so happy that you're with us. I want to start out with, a couple of romantic comedies that you actually wrote and you starred in these, because it fascinated me. It must be cool to actually act out the words that you wrote for this movie, to have your fellow actors and co-stars actually, read that same dialogue that you wrote. So how is that to see your work come to fruition like that?
It was wild. So I started writing in 2019 because I was frustrated with where I was in my career as a woman in my late 20s, that I was like, take me seriously. So I started writing and I thought, well, what is the lowest barrier to entry? And these TV movies, there are just so many made a year that I thought, well, I'll just do that. Like, let's just try, what's the worst people can say is no, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up watching one or three a day, every day for 3 months. And I broke them down. Every movie I could get my hands on. And then after that, I wrote one movie a month for 9 months. And wow. I challenged myself. I would set a date for the table read of a script before it was even done. And so I had to be done by this date because people were coming to my house to read my script.
Yeah.
So I taught myself how to do it. And then I sold my first script right before COVID. And when COVID happened, I was like, oh no, well, there goes like my writing career. I'm never going to get anything made ever. And the opposite happened. I just sold my 20th project in the last 2.5 years.
Jeez. And
during COVID, I've had 9 or 10 of those projects film. And my first one that filmed was in Vancouver in October of 2020. And it was the first script I ever wrote, just happened to be the first one that I sold.
Yeah.
And it was
wow.
So I had this moment of like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I have made it as a screenwriter. Like, I'm produced now. I can put that in subject lines when I'm emailing people, produced screenwriter.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, I'm not acting in it. And the studio didn't even know that I was an actor because I didn't want people to not take me seriously as a writer. So I didn't tell anybody for like a year. And that when I did finally say something, the studio was like, oh, well, you have to be a number 3. You have to do a supporting first. Similar to what happened with John Bonner, that you do the 3 and then you get to do your number 1. So the number 3 that I did ended up being in my own movie. And that was wild. And being in that movie, I was like, I wrote all of these jokes wrong. Like, now that I'm performing them, like, I should have written these jokes better. It should have been better jokes. But that was really cool to see how the director brought it to life, how the art direction came to life. It was about a digital agency that's the Singles Guidebook. And seeing like the company's called Agency and seeing the agency logo for the first time, like in the window of the building we were filming in, I was just like,
yeah, surreal. A little surreal. Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew that if I did the number 3 in that movie, that I would likely get to star in my next movie, which was Love on the Reef. Now, in the interim, I ended up accidentally booking another number 1 for a movie that I didn't write. So, and that was one that I did with Jonathan Stoddard. So went and did that one, and then immediately went and did Love on the Reef. And on Love on the Reef, first of all, Jen Bonner was literally what I wanted out of that role. Like, every single word that came out of her mouth was perfect.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not doing a good job as Dr. Isla Waters, but Jen as Brooke is literally perfect. So it was amazing.
Yeah.
But my co-star Mark, he had questions on the script, and he was like, I don't love this. Can we change this? What about this? I'm like, yeah, whatever. Go ahead. And on like the middle of the shoot, he was like, I need you to be more precious with your words. And I was like, no, I am an actor. I know what it's like to have to say something that doesn't feel authentic in my body. Mm-hmm. If you have a better way of saying something, you should say it that way. Now, if it's one of my fish puns or a joke that I now have perfected, I need you to land that one. But everything else, like, it's okay for me, at least, for people to take things and make it their own.
Well, Ansley, one of the things that, I wanted to, ask you, I know Love on the Reef and the Singles Guidebook, those are two romantic comedies. I mean, I know you kind of brought this up already, but what kind of draws you to the rom-coms, I guess, because everybody loves them. I mean, I don't care if you're a guy or lady or whatever. I mean, we all sit on the couch and we love Hallmark, Lifetime, all these networks that show rom-coms. It's just, to me, they're fun. They're kind of a look into our own life sometimes. So I guess what attracted you to that type of genre, I guess, at this point?
I love that they are lighthearted, that their goal is to make you feel good, and they're about human connection. So they are stories that are about a moment that hopefully everyone gets to experience in their life, which is falling in love at some point.
Right.
And I love as an emotion, as a feeling that exists in the human body. And so getting to put that into a script, I love doing that. And I love creating scenarios for my characters to fall in love. So are they playing croquet? Are they going surfing? Are they going to a food truck? Creating dates that I won't necessarily ever go on in my life. Are they in a hot air balloon,
Yeah.
And putting them in situations where they get to feel a positive emotion. And then the audience, when watching it, will also feel the positive emotion.
Yeah. I mean, how do you draw inspiration, I guess, for an idea for a movie? Because, I mean, you want them to all be unique. So how do you draw inspiration for each one?
Everyone is different. So sometimes if I need a job and I'm like, I need money, I will pick a season. So I'll say spring. What happens in spring? We have weddings, we have bridal showers, we have baby showers, we have Easter. Like, what kind of things happen in spring? And I will pick topics that could happen and then find scenarios that could plug into there. So if somebody meets somebody at a wedding, or they show up to the wrong baby shower, or, how can I connect two people that, like, two opposites in a very specific feeling setting?
Yeah.
And then now if I'm doing something that's more like on my own, that I'm just coming up with something, like I'm writing my first Prince movie right now, which is so fun.
Yeah.
So I'm table reading it on Monday. Set the table read before I finished it to make sure that it gets done.
Yeah.
And the way that I came up with that one was, I thought, if I were in a Disney movie, what kind of princess would I want to play?
Yeah.
And so I wrote it around that. Now, Love on the Reef, I came up with the idea for that with my family while we were in the Florida Keys. And we were on the boat, we were going skiing, and we were all just talking about different ideas for, like, what if he's a surfer? What if she's a marine biologist? What if she's a surfer? What if he's a marine biologist?
Yeah.
And putting the pieces together, and I wrote the concept and pitched it a couple years later, and the rest is history.
How do you find time to actually sit and write? I mean, did you write most of them during the COVID, I guess, quarantine? Or you continue to write even when you're acting at night, or I guess when you're not working?
So far in 2022, I have filmed 5 movies as an actor, and I've had 4 movies as a writer go through development into production.
Wow.
So the hardest one was, I was filming a movie called Baked with a Kiss. I was in pre-production for a movie that I wrote called Love on Your Doorstep. And then I was in development on a Christmas movie that I'm not allowed to talk about yet as a writer. So I'm filming Baked with a Kiss. I'm the lead of that one. So I'm, working 12-hour days. Yeah. I'm going home, and I'm shooting that on the East Coast. I'm going home and I'm doing production calls with, the director, producer, line producer, UPM, we're changing locations. We're missing this cast person, so we have to change the script date. Can we fix this? And I'm like on Zoom calls with people in my like hair and makeup from set, like going over and I'm like, yes, okay, sure. Yeah. Can you just email me everything you want and I'll just do it. So then I'm making notes on that, quickly going over my lines for the next day, going to sleep, getting up, finishing, learning my lines while I get ready in the morning, while I'm driving to set, while I'm in hair and makeup, then shoot the morning. Then on lunch, I would bring my laptop to set, and I'm writing the Christmas movie that I'm in development for over lunch. And then I would film the afternoon scenes, and then I would go home.
Wow.
And do it again.
So you kind of have to get yourself in different spaces, I guess, when you're writing, and then when you have to get back in front of the camera.
Every 3 minute counts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. the other thing I was going to ask you about this, because I never asked an actor about this, and I should have, but I want to ask you this. So there's production companies that actually produce, correct me if I'm wrong, produce the movie. Mm-hmm. And is the movie actually commissioned first, or do you film it first and then pitch it later? I'm just trying to figure out how that works, because sometimes there's multiple production companies for one movie. So how does that make it to, let's say, Hallmark or Lifetime? How does that process work?
So in my experience, I've never worked with Hallmark directly. It's my goal. I'm manifesting it. But in my experience, I work a lot with Real One, and everything I do with them is development. So I will pitch an idea and we'll build it out. I'll do a 2-page synopsis, then I'll do a 20-page outline, then I'll write the script, then they'll bring in one of their production partners to film it, and they then sell it. So the production company that they bring in will make it, but Real One is in charge of who it sells to. Now, there are other companies that will pre-sell their stuff, their scripts, that they get approved by Netflix, Amazon, Hallmark, and they will get funding to make that project.
Oh, okay.
Which then they will be hired to make.
Yeah, I've always wondered how that works, because I didn't know if it was actually made first, and then like they see it and like, oh, we'll buy this, or if it was like, hey, we like your idea, we're going to pay you, and then we'll pay you to make it.
Yeah. So the paying you to make the idea is development.
Okay.
Making it and then selling it is called making it on spec.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good for our listeners, because I know that's something that I think people wonder about. The other thing, what were you like as a child? I mean, did you have this imagination? Were you like an actress? Did you do like school plays, and how was that for you as a child?
So I was actually talking to my dad about this yesterday, and he was like, Ann, little girls want to be actresses, they want to be princesses, they want to be astronauts, they want to be scuba divers, and it changes. And you just wanted to be an actress. Like, this was all you wanted. And he said, I've never met anybody who decided their career at 4 and stuck with it.
Wow.
So I did my first regional theater show at 4. It was Wizard of Oz. And I have told the story so many times. So if you've listened to another interview with me, I'm so sorry. I'll make it quick. My age group, so I was at this dance studio, and the theater asked our dance studio, because these kids have stage presence, to come in and audition for the Munchkins and the Poppies. And the little kids got to be Poppies, and the bigger kids got to be Munchkins. And I wanted to be a Munchkin because they got more screen time. You know, like that's what I wanted. Like, I want to be in front of people. Yeah. So I told the director that, and he liked that. But when I got cast, I was cast as a Poppy, and I only had 2 scenes, and I was annoyed by that. So I went up to the director at 4 and said, we had a deal, man. Like, you told me that I could be a Munchkin if I got cast. And he was so charmed by it. He was like, okay, you can be a Munchkin, but you also have to be a Poppy for numbers. We need stage numbers. And I remember being on stage, and there was a kid who was older than me who would follow Glenda around and pick up her sparkles that fell off her dress. And I'm like, what are you doing? We are on stage now. Like, yeah. What are you doing?
You were much more mature than the other actors on stage, right?
I was just like, come on, people.
That's awesome. One of the things I also want to ask you, just being a woman in the industry,
yes.
I know that it's evolved over the number of years, but, I don't think we are where we need to be when it comes to women in the industry, and especially in, producing roles, directing roles, and so forth. And so what is your take on that? And, I guess, what's your opinion on that?
I think that the more stories that we are able to put forward that show women in normal light, not women in glamorized lights, because for so long cinema was made through the male lens. So women were put on a pedestal of this like idea of what a woman should be, instead of what a woman actually is, which is somebody complex with dreams and goals, and doesn't have a perfect body, and wants to have kids, but also wants to have a career, and all of the things. And so I think the more women who are writing stories that are honest and authentic for women will help move the needle forward. And writing a female-driven script and it being given to a female director will then help hire a female DP and a female sound engineer. And in my career, I've only been mic'd 1 time by a woman.
Wow.
In every production I've ever worked on. my sound person was only a woman once, and it was on Better Things on FX. And Pamela Adlon was in charge of that show, and she was incredible and a force. And the crew was like 80% women or something. It was like her mandate, and it was awesome. And I think that expanding on what a woman can do behind the camera, I just did a movie where I played twins, and our focus puller was this brilliant young woman named Hannah. And our scriptie was a young woman named Cassidy. And it was amazing to see so many young women behind the camera in positions that are so important. Right,
for sure. Yeah, and then speaking of that, we usually have our actors or singers or whoever we have on give a piece of advice, to some of the new people that are just getting into the industry, or they want to be an actor, actress. What do you say to that young girl out there who wants to get into the industry or be in film or TV? What kind of advice could you give somebody like that, like a young female?
You are enough. You are enough exactly as you are. You do not need to lose weight. You do not need to dye your hair. You do not need to fix your skin. I have Invisalign to fix my teeth so they could be straighter, but I worked in the entertainment industry for 20 years before I did that. You are enough. And this industry will try to tell you over and over and over and over and over that you're not. And that's just not true. So the biggest piece of advice that I have for anyone getting started is, one, your living situation is important. So make sure you don't live in model housing with 19 roommates that you hate. Yeah. Two, you are absolutely enough exactly as you are.
That's great advice. It's funny you should mention the housing situation, because I had Tony Winner, and she's just actually getting her star on the Walk of Fame in 2023. But Melba Moore, that's out of 127 episodes. I asked that question almost every episode. That's only the second time that somebody said that.
Really? Yeah. When you move to somewhere like LA, New York, Atlanta, somewhere that you're not from, and you think, I will rough it out. I had told my parents, I was like, I'll live in my car till I'm 30. And no, because you can't be the best version of yourself, not only as a performer, but like how you move through the world impacts your art. Right. Like I can't write well at the level that I need to be writing if I'm not sleeping well, if I don't feel safe in my house, if I'm, and those things impact what you do in your day-to-day, which impacts what you do in your art.
Yeah, you got to be mentally healthy when you're going to do a job like that. Ansley, being on so many sets, there's got to be a crazy story, at least one, right? So what's the craziest story of being on a set for either a movie or TV show? What can you share with us?
Oh, I was on an Amazon young adult cheerleading show called Liberty about 8 years ago. And to prep for that show, we went to a legitimate cheer camp with legitimate professional cheerleaders. And I was just in shock at like what they were. And they were all so nice. And they were like, yeah, how can we help you? What do you want to learn? And I'm like, I don't know how to touch my toes. Like, I don't know.
Let's start with that.
Right. Like I am so not. And that was the most intense, just seeing people like flipping and whatever. And then when we got into our gym to film, I had a stunt double, and she was incredible and did everything that was difficult. But filming in the gym, we're filming on the spring mats. They didn't take those out. So every single move that we, like any walking, anything we did would shake the camera. So for like the first like 2 episodes, we're all just robots trying to not mess, but we're cheerleaders. So we're trying to like do cheerleading moves without moving the camera.
That's funny.
It was a great core exercise.
Yeah, I'm sure. Do you have a favorite type of role that you play? I mean, sometimes obviously romantic comedies, but sometimes you play like, when I watched the movie Treasure that you were in, you played somebody who was in trouble with the law when you were younger, and then but what kind of role do you like to play? Do you like to play the sweet girl, or do you like to play the more I don't know, bad girl, I guess?
I don't really think I play the bad girl well. My husband and I joke all the time that I'm not very dark. Like I'm not, right. I'm just magenta. Like magenta's the darkest that I go. When he's not here, I sleep with a nightlight, and I'm 30. So like, I don't do great with that. I love comedy. Yeah. And the more ridiculous the physical comedy is, the more I love. Like I just did a movie where I played twins, and one of the twins was like big and ridiculous and like did all the things, and it's like throwing food in her mouth, and it's hilarious. And that is the one that I felt like the most at home. The other one was like the uptight stick up her butt.
Yeah, right.
And I love being ridiculous. Like you want me to make a joke and be, or physically, whatever, that I love that.
So how was that playing two different, I mean, 'cause you see that sometimes, and obviously it's tricky to, I suppose, camera angles and everything. It's like completely like, it has to be on point, but how do you play two different roles and, you know, be able to get into those two spaces like that? Because it would be, I would imagine, like, I think Lindsay Lohan did it in Parent Trap,
Yes,
but
yes.
so how was that for you to get into those two different roles, and how was that filmed, I guess? Did you film one all?
Yeah.
Okay. How did that work?
No.
Oh.
I was switching back and forth between twins
Oh,
multiple
wow.
times in a scene.
Oh my gosh.
So I did a lot of homework on the physicality of each twin.
Yeah.
So I knew that Lacey is like feel good, cool, like never crosses her fingers, uses her hands. And then Alice is uptight and her chin is a little bit raised and her voice is a little bit higher. So she is a little bit more just everything like this is here and it's pointed. And so I knew going into it, but they were pretending to be each other. So
that made it even worse.
Right. So if I'm Lacey pretending to be Alice, I'm going to be more Lacey and then remember that I'm pretending to be Alice and do the idea of being uptight. Whereas with Alice, she's supposed to be like fun and loose. That stuff was really fun because seeing her be so uncomfortable with like being fun was just a lot of like, yeah, totally.
What a challenging role. I mean, it
was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And at the same time, I was in development for a series that I co-created that we're about to go on. So I was doing that on my like nights and days off, besides being two roles in like every scene. But the way we shot it was the twin scenes, we would do coverage of me as one twin. So like all of my close-up coverage.
Yeah.
And then my double, Nicole, who wore a wig and read her sides off of her lines off of the sides, was across from me, and they were shooting over her shoulder. And the wig looked enough like me that it looked like I was talking to myself.
Right.
Then we would do a lock-off shot that was like the wide shot. And there was a line down the middle of the shot where this side was the character we were filming. And then nothing could be moved. And we would all walk around the camera. I would be the other twin, jump in here with the camera still in the same position, film that lock-off shot. And Nicole would try to match how I did my timing of the other character.
Yeah.
So I would be able to have the reactions and timing that they could then splice those two takes together.
Wow. But then the sight line was, so the other actress was about your height. Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
They cast a body double that was about my size, and she was not really an actress. I mean, she's a performer at Disney and is the nicest person I have ever met, and tried so hard in that movie. Would not have happened without her. So yeah, it was so intense, and we wrapped Sync July first. And I was like, I'm doing Lazy Girl July. I am not doing anything. I was offered the lead of a Lifetime movie and I turned it down. My team was like, Really? Yeah. I was like, yes, I need a break.
You need a mental break. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. And the other thing I want to ask you, you're a trained comedian. So,
yes.
And you have a lot of views on TikTok. So, how is is that something you really like to do is get up in front of people and just do comedy?
So stand-up is my thing that like I want to be so good at, and it scares me so badly. And the way that TikTok started is one of my agents was like, we're getting a lot of deals for our cute girls that do comedy on TikTok, and you do comedy, like you were an improv girl, you do stand-up. Why are you not on TikTok? And I was like, because I have nothing to say. Like, I don't have anything to add to TikTok. That's not like, people that make comedy videos are so funny. Yeah. And I just didn't think I had that in me. And then I realized I have sweaty hands. Okay. So I have this condition called hyperhidrosis, where my hands, they will literally drip all of the time. I have a towel with me all of the time because my hands are so sweaty. And like every set I work on, everybody knows like day one, sweaty hands needs her hand
It's part of your rider.
But literally, my wrap gift on the twin movie were hand towels that they had monograms.
Oh, nice.
Sweaty hands. So I was like, you know what? I'll I'll just do it. I'll just make some comedy videos with about hyperhidrosis.
Have fun with it. Yeah.
I'm a damp hot girl. Let's go. So I just started making the most ridiculous videos of like picking up a piece of paper or sealing an envelope. And then they started getting hundreds of thousands. One of them has over 5 million views.
Wow.
And the comments are so sweet of people being like, I didn't know that somebody I also had this. Like, I'm not alone. I'm like,
right.
hey, you are not alone. Welcome, damp queen.
Welcome.
Like, you're amazing.
You're in the club.
You are in the club. I haven't made a video in a while because I like don't have anything funny right now to put.
So it's got to be, you got to have the inspiration to do it.
Well, I usually make them on the fly where I'm like, oh, this is something I should film right now.
Right.
Like I'm sealing my friend's birthday envelope. Let me just film that because I don't have to lick it. I can just rub my hand on it and it's done.
Oh boy. All right, Ansley, I always ask everybody this, of course. This is what I like to know from each of our actors and singers and all of our artists. But when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to walk away with when they hear Ansley Gordon?
Since I knew I was going to be on this show, I have been listening to everybody else's answers because I didn't know how to verbalize it.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not going to say it very eloquently, but let's give it a go. I would like to leave a legacy of you can absolutely do it. Like whatever it is you want to do, you can do it. If somebody looks at me and sees anything that I've accomplished, I hope that makes them feel like they can accomplish their dreams. Because if I did it, you can totally do it. Like there's no reason that if you don't put in the time or the effort, you can have everything that you want in your life. And that's what I would like to leave behind.
Well, that's awesome. Ansley, thank you so much for that. And also for all your advice that you gave our young artists out there, because this is our platform, is helping the indie artists. So thank you so much for that. And, we can't wait to see everything that you have coming in the future. I know you've done a lot of stuff that's already out. So we can't wait for people to go onto your social media. Speaking of, how can people find you?
Thank you so much for all of that. That was so nice. And thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here.
Thank you.
My Instagram is @AnsleyGordon. And if you want some damp videos on TikTok, it's @SweatyHandsAns.
All right. So everybody check that out. Definitely go to our social media and check it out. It's amazing. And your work is truly amazing, Ansley. So thank you again for joining us. And I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you again for having me. This was awesome.
Thank you so much to our audience for listening to the Stage Door Show on iHeartRadio. Your support means everything. And always remember to support your local independent artists.